Welcome to the Pull the Chute podcast with Jeff and Jana. This is our weekly venture into the world of small to medium-sized businesses and the entrepreneurial spirit that drives success.
So our goal here is to help you grow and to be the best you can be, both in business and personally. To do that, we identify and we discuss topics that will hopefully help you as you work to build a successful business.
We also interview business owners and executives. It's our hope that you may be able to gain insight on ways to help you be a better leader and provide a better culture for your people.
Our mission here is to help you pull the chute once a week to work on your business instead of always working in your business.
So we hope you find these discussions insightful, helpful, and useful.
And thanks for your support. We hope you enjoy today's podcast.
Well, welcome everyone to the Pull the Chute podcast with Jeff and Jana. We always are excited to do these podcasts. We're excited that you're here with us as well. Jana, how are you doing today? How's Nashville?
Nashville is rocking and rolling. Good. We're doing good. Everybody's gearing up for Super Bowl. Of course, I know
right.
For this, people will be listening in like April or May, but
yeah, but we're recording then. So, so just so you know, but yeah, it's good. It's fun. It's a lot of things. So, here's the cool part. Make your prediction now, and then we'll see when the show airs. If you're right or not.
Exactly. Well, I love the Chiefs. Love the Chiefs, but I always root for the underdog, and I'd love to see the Eagles. I'd love to see the Eagles win, just because.
That's right. All right, good for you. Good for you. Well, our guest today is Brandon White. Brandon, welcome to the show, first of all.
Oh, thanks for having me, Jeff and Jana.
We appreciate you being here. So, Brandon, do you have a prediction for the Super Bowl?
Well, I'm rooting for the Chiefs. I'm from the East Coast, so I'm a Ravens fan. I live in the San Francisco Bay Area, so I'm a 49ers fan as well. But who doesn't want to see the Chiefs win 3 in a row, first time ever?
Yeah, that would be cool.
I don't. I want the Eagles to win, but that's all right. No, you're right. You're right, though, Brandon. There's a lot of people that do. Jeff, what do you think?
Well, I'm the same with Brandon. I would love to see the Chiefs win 3, just because Tom Brady had 7 rings, right? So this could be something that somebody else did. Because I don't know if anybody will ever win 7 Super Bowls again.
Yeah.
That's like a feat. So at least you have some kind of record. So hey, Brandon, welcome.
Two Chiefs and an Eagle.
There you go.
There you go.
Anyway, Brandon, once again, welcome to the show. Do us a favor, Brandon. Give our audience a little bit about who you are and how you got to where you're at today. As we always say, no one can do it better than you guys. So,
yeah, I've had a really, I say I've had a guardian angel, but I've had a sort of crazy career. I started my career on the internet, creating what became the largest social networking and e-commerce site for sport fishermen on the internet. I started that in 1996, when the internet was much different place than it is today. Much different, but much the same than it is today. But the scale was definitely different. And then I built that company. I ultimately, without going into a long story, bought that company back from investors. I had bootstrapped it. I had traded stocks to fund it initially, and then raised professional money. And then the internet crashed in 2000. We had a chance to sell it for tens of millions of dollars, and my board said no. So that was sort of painful. The stock market crashed in 2001, for those listening who are old enough to remember that.
Yep.
And I bought the company back from the investors and ran it as a side hustle, if you will, up until when I came back, which I'll get to in a second, which I eventually sold it to a large media company. But I decided that I was going to run it as a side hustle. In like 3 months, we had it cash flow positive, not huge in the beginning, but we were making money. And then I was a venture capitalist. I worked for 2 venture capital firms over my career, managing about $500 million, investing in the internet. Big data is what it was called back then, machine learning, which is now called AI, and things like that. I did about 1.5 years at America Online back just when Time Warner was buying it, but it was a fun ride. We were still the biggest internet company in the world at that time. And then I went to business school, started a software company that I had intended to be the next generation CRM company for anybody who knows what a pain it is to put information into a CRM. And I had built a system that you didn't have to put the data in. You just hooked up your communications data, and built everything and organized it for you.
Wow.
And then that got turned into an intelligence product, intelligence as in the US government. And we were invested in by the intelligence agencies, what they call InQtel, venture capital firm. And then we did classified work for a long time there. I had done a service company doing services in the government, which have actually got sold, but I had left. My wife started it, and then I came on board, and then it was subsequently sold last year, actually, to GDIT. And then I worked, of all things, back in finance in a bond management company, and we managed a few $100 million worth of bonds. And then I've always played around. I've always had a podcast, always been in tech, and most recently have been helping people implement AI solutions into their businesses. And I have a side project that I've been working on, which is another CRM, because that my original one got transformed got transformed into some good work for our country. But I still didn't have a CRM that worked, so I built this thing called Trevally, and been working on that and helping companies with Third Brain as a partner over there implement AI solutions, sort of navigating this whole AI, I don't know what to call it, wave that's come upon us the last few years.
That's great. That's great. I love it. I love it.
So I want to hear about the AI, right, Jeff?
Yeah, right.
We talk about that. We just talked about, in fact, with the HR girl and how you apply it to businesses. What do you think, Brandon? I mean, how do you think businesses can utilize AI in the smartest way?
Well, I think that right now, I mean, there's a lot of hype around it, and some of it's warranted and some of it isn't. But I think at the end of the day, it is very good for doing tasks that are defined and connecting things. And it's incredible for things like customer support and sales and marketing for the most part right now, I think is where the real implementations are. I think there's some deep science. I mean, but I don't think this is new. We've been working on machine learning. I mean, I've been working in AI for 20 years, whether that's natural language processing, sentiment analysis, or machine learning. I mean, but with the scale now that you have and you're able to pre-train and post-train these models really quickly, I mean, I think it's going to have medical breakthroughs that humans just can't simply do at scale.
Mm-hmm.
And, whether that's diagnosing cancer before it happens, not because humans aren't good, but because these things just can do it at such a high level and volume. Mm-hmm. So I think it's going to have tremendous health in the medical field. But, as it relates to like a business, I think where I've seen it most is it's just really able to do these lower level skills better and to be a force multiplier for professionals, meaning if you wanted to answer your emails, you can. I would put a human in the loop because it just hasn't gotten past being unsupervised at some level yet. So I think it's great for automating tasks and things where they're very defined and where you might have a knowledge base and you might want to like level 1 or level 2 customer support. So
Mm-hmm.
you at least eliminate some of your overhead there and you can get some answers.
Yeah.
But, I will say this. I think it is fundamentally, and I built my first company off of organic SEO, literally. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
we had about $500,000 a month in SEO traffic back in the day when SEO was much different. I think it will fundamentally change the search business with Google and everyone else because
Mm-hmm.
of the way AI is answering these things.
Yeah.
So give me some more on that, because I was thinking you said a couple things. You said tasks that are defined is one thing for AI. And then you said sales and marketing. So talk to me about how that works with AI. I'm a little confused on that.
Well, so let me give you a concept for podcasts, since we're on a podcast and we're talking to podcasts and people listening might want to get on podcasts. The way that, and both of you, I'm sure, have been on other podcasts and tried to reach out to guests, and you know how manually intensive that is. You got to do the research. Right. You've got to find the contact. You've got to write an email that's customized to that person. Well, we built internally for myself and my partner, Michael, in that Third Brain company, and now we're actually selling it as a service, but we automated that whole process. So it downloads episodes, it transcribes them, it then writes a tailored email to that guest, to that host, and it pitches us at scale. So you're literally, with that automation level, talking about taking out 90% of the time that it takes, because we hook it up to a database. That's a more sophisticated thing. But when you think about that, if you're trying to do cold outreach, or you're trying to outreach to, say you have 3,000 customers, or 1,000, or even a few hundred, and you want to give them an update email every month to touch base, you could have AI go to their website, look to see if they had a press release, read that press release, and then build an email that says, "Hey, Jeff, I saw you guys reach the top 100 in the Apple charts and blah, blah, blah. I hope everything's going well." That can all be automated with AI, and that's just taking hours off your time.
Wow.
So is this, when you say automated, I mean, again, I'm a programmer from back in the day, but so we wrote our own code. This interacts with ChatGPT or OpenAI, whichever one you talk to. So you write your own code that interacts, or is there tasks within ChatGPT, because this is why I'm not sophisticated enough, that can do some of this stuff as well?
Well, I think there's some modules that you can find within these LLMs, like ChatGPT or Gemini or any of these models that are out there. And then there's these companies out there that are building what's called wrapper companies that are just tapping into the API, but building a layer on top of them that makes the interface and the automation easier. So you'll see a lot of chatbots out there, for instance, that claim that you can just upload all your PDFs, all your videos, all your audio meetings, blah, 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 and then you can create a knowledge repository. So I think right now it's a combination of both, Jeff, that is basically happening. I mean, we're so early in this. I mean, there's so many things changing every day
Right.
Yes.
in this space, that it's just sort of crazy where it's going to go. But ultimately, right now, you're seeing a combination of these separate services built into the chatbot or LLMs, like ChatGPT. And then I think eventually what you're going to see this year is you're going to see AI being integrated into your normal software. So if you I'm using podcasts because we're on one, but if you were to use Zoom, or you use Riverside, for instance, Riverside back in the day, all it could do was record. Well, now it transcribes, it edits, it gives you summaries, and I was using a separate service for that 6 months ago to summarize an episode and get me my tweets and LinkedIn posts. Well, now it's all being integrated. And what's happening is these large software companies that exist and that we're all been using are now being able to integrate AI. So they lagged, where the startups were able to pump this stuff out. But now you have to ask yourself, am I going to pay for this extra service when it's already built into my existing software that I've been using a long time? So I think the landscape's going to really change. And if you want to go the next step further, then I'll be quiet, is AI, where there's been a lot of efficiency, is in coding. So, I mean, I just read the other day that Salesforce freezed no more engineer hires this year. So, and in China, as an example, China doesn't have SaaS platform businesses, not a lot of them. And the reason is because engineers are so cheap there that they can build customized solutions in their companies cheaper than dealing with some SaaS platform.
Wow.
So imagine what's going to happen when the cost of engineering drops, and now you can build customized solutions for your business, where you start to eliminate SaaS software. And I don't mean that that's coming next year, because I think it's always longer than the hype, but that's what's going to happen.
That's very interesting.
So again, OpenAI, ChatGPT, all the same. They kind of broke out everything a couple of years back now. And again, you've been working there for 20 years. Now all of a sudden, we're in February of 2025, and DeepSeek came out.
Yes.
Where's the differences, Brandon, between ChatGPT and DeepSeek that you see as brand new? I mean, probably don't have much time, but what do you see happening there?
Well, they definitely, it's new to the public, but what they were doing and how they were training their models and the efficiencies were known, to be quite candid with you. I think if um, I think what DeepSeek, I think the DeepSeek news story was partially a psyop. You can call me a conspiracist, but
Yeah.
and it was meant to disrupt the markets, which it did. Right, that Monday that it
Mhm.
came out, it literally dropped
Yeah.
tech. It crushed tech. Um, they didn't tell, they didn't they didn't lie, but they didn't tell the whole truth, because anybody in their right mind who knows about AI will tell you that there's no way in God's creation that they trained that model without a very large number of GPUs somewhere. Like, they used NVIDIA chips. They can't say it because there's an export thing. So I guess the other thing that they did, to answer your question specifically, Jeff, is that I think what they did was they made it look like magic to the end user, because it shows you the reasoning. And that is already happening at ChatGPT. It's happening at Gemini. It's happening at Lambda. It's happening at the 5 other AI companies out there in the background. They're just not showing it right now. They started to show a little bit of that. If you look, at least in Gemini, I use Gemini more than I use ChatGPT, but it'll give you, or even if you just do, listeners just do an internet search, you can see they're sourcing, they're citing at least one of the sources that they're getting that summary from at the top of the search engine. But in the background, in computer language, it is doing that. What DeepSeek did is it showed it, which, to no disrespect to anybody who's not tech savvy, but to somebody who's not tech savvy, that looks like magic.
Yeah. True.
It does. I
I
mean,
got you. Yeah.
so it looks like you're like, man, this thing's smart. This thing's doing things that ChatGPT, not true at all. Right. It's just that they're
Got
not
it.
showing that. So what I think this shows, and what they did demonstrate, which is actually a really good lesson for anybody out there, it's not always how good something is, it's how good the UI and the interface, the human computer interaction, is as important as anything in technology, whether that's your phone. I mean, it's the difference between Apple and
Just gonna say
Windows.
that's what made, yeah, so made Apple a big thing,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And I got some insight. The guy who in like built the iPhone with Steve Jobs, Steve made the first call to him, lives in my town here in Half Moon Bay, and I became friends with him through some tech meetups. And the one thing that he told me was that at Apple, and I think this is still true, there's still some senior Apple guys in my neighborhood, but I didn't ask them. But when Apple designs software, they actually have movie makers, or at least did, that design the interface. So the movie, that's why if you see all these movements that Apple, when they close a window, it just doesn't close, right? It sort of comes out of the screen. Those are all done with movie makers, and they make, like, actual people who make movies. They design the interface and then they tell the engineers to code it, versus a Windows. I'm not saying that I'm not as up to speed, but back in when this was happening, they don't do that. The engineers are designing the tech, and then they design the interface, and it's that human computer interaction. It's like DeepSeek. People believe that this DeepSeek thing is way smarter than any AI that anybody in America has built. I mean, think about that. We have some very smart people, including
Yes.
people from China and 100 other countries who live in America. Like, I think we'd all accept being blindsided, but not like that, right? So
Yeah,
I
right.
think they did a really great job. They dropped it on Friday night. They had the whole weekend build up. It got like, and then I saw on CNBC yesterday or the day before, well, they did an audit, security audit. All your login goes through a channel in China, so everything you're doing on there is now logged in China.
Mhm.
It always has been. So, and people are like, well, they're giving it away for free, so they probably have lower costs. Well, if you were an adversary of the United States or any country, wherever,
Mhm.
that's like the cheapest intel you could collect.
Yeah,
Like, it's a
right.
lot cheaper than running a hack or something. Like, give it away, log everybody's information, and now you have a database of American consumers. Like,
Mm-hmm.
seems pretty smart to me, just like they did with the drones, the the DLJI or
Right.
whatever they're called, DJI. Like
Yeah.
all that data. I mean, what a way to collect
Well, and
intel.
Temu and Shane, I mean, come on. You just put cheap goods on the internet, especially for women, shoes and purses and all this, eye candy, and all these people are buying it from China, so they're getting, talk about consumer data.
Yeah, I mean, they were killing it. Well, I guess with these tariffs now, that 10% really killed that Tumu business
Yeah.
because it's now, but yes, like they're collecting, they're just giving out the government. It's a genius strategy. I mean, we
Mhm.
can be mad about it, but it's pretty genius, right? Just
Yeah.
supplement it in another way that doesn't appear that the consumers actually thinks they're saving money, but they're
Yes.
actually just giving all their intel.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
that's
just a,
right.
it's a, I mean, I think that's a real, it might not, I don't know how popular it is anymore, but it's a real concern. Like, that having that data go to other places. I mean, you meet some kids and they're like, I don't care. Well, if you make it, when you're young, you don't really
That's
care,
right.
right? You don't have as much awareness, but if you want to join the military or do anything like that, like you're, you're already compromised. Whereas when all three of us grew up, that just was never an issue.
All
Yeah.
I
right.
mean, Atari didn't talk back.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Exactly. So, Ben, what do you think this AI stuff? Obviously, it's here to stay. What do you think is going to be the biggest in your mind, since you seem to really be tied to it?
Mhm.
What do you think is the biggest next thing for AI that we're going to start to see?
Robots. You're gonna have the Jetsons, Rosie the robot. You're gonna
Yeah.
have a robot at home. And
Wow.
if you own a Tesla, I own a Tesla, I drive a Tesla. I have full self-driving. Unsupervised is coming. When you drive, sit in that car, it drives you. And it's a pretty incredible experience that if you haven't experienced it, it can be unnerving, but you can't underestimate how far advanced that Tesla is in their AI. You have to think about not to get nerdy, but they're literally doing software engineering at the bare metal in the car. They're not sending that data. There's no time to send the data back to the cloud and then back to the car to make a decision. That car is making these decisions, and it drives. I mean, it drives me to the airport, it drives me everywhere, without doing that. So now you take that technology and you think about just what they're doing. And I use Tesla. There's certainly other robotics companies out there that are as good, but Tesla has think about collecting intelligence. Tesla's been collecting intelligence for the last 10 years with self-driving because the cameras and sensors on their car. And now you put that into a robot and like robots are going to replace, I mean, I would be surprised if in 15 years, in our lifetime, 15 years, that everybody didn't have a robot, or that everybody who could have moderately afford to have something like that, which I think gets priced under $30,000, is going to have a robot in their home to do everyday chores.
Wow.
Wow. Think about it. I mean,
Jetson.
but think about it. I mean, we live in a society now where, thanks to COVID, but where people order all their stuff online and they get it delivered
Yeah.
because it's like it's just easy. And it's funny. I have three daughters. You know what they say to me? Dad, I save hundreds of dollars a month by not going to the store because then I don't buy all the stuff that I don't really need, but because I went and I saw it, and I'm like, oh, you know what? That actually sounds good. I'll do that. But they do it all for convenience now. Everything's about convenience, right? Because we're all talking about life-work balance. This creates a much nicer work-life balance. So I think that's an interesting story, Brendan. That's really, really amazing.
I think the biggest limiting factor on AI will be electricity, because we don't have enough electricity for the amount of data centers that are currently being built to do training. So I heard something the other day that said, because in San Francisco, they literally cannot go to electric autonomous vehicles. In San Francisco, Waymo exists, which is driverless cars, and I know Tesla's coming out with their robotaxi soon. There's not enough electricity to have a full fleet of electric cars in California, because we can't make enough and our grid can't handle it. And the biggest, even if we could build a nuclear reactor or a natural gas plant fast, which takes a minute for all those gas plants can be built faster. Nuclear takes longer, obviously. Transmission is a problem. We can't get the electricity from source to endpoint because of the limiting factor, which is lines. Now, I will say, I don't know if you've both seen the demonstration of this, but there is wireless electricity.
I have not seen that.
Yes, they have a whole town in, I think, Norway. They did a pilot probably 5 years ago on wireless electricity, because electricity is actually, your listeners are like, this guy is a total nerd, but electricity is vibrations. So and if you think about it, you put your phone on your charger, that is wireless.
Yeah,
that's true.
But they can do it at distance. Then that might change the game, but biggest limiting factor, I think that the speed of innovation is going to outrun our ability to get the electricity.
wow.
That is crazy. That is crazy.
Yes.
Well, to all our listeners out there, this has been a geek sesh out.
I know, but I love it. We're gonna have to have Brandon
too.
back, Jeff. This is interesting, Brandon. I mean, you think of it as nerdy. I think our listeners are going to be really interested in this.
Well, I hope so. I mean,
Same to me. Everybody's wondering about it. Everybody's wondering about AI right now, and DeepSeek and all of this. So, it's real.
it's coming. I mean, it's coming fast and slow, right?
Right.
People who are hyping it are saying it can do X, Y, Z. I think that does it a disservice, but it is advancing. I mean, like I say, that just go, if you haven't taken a ride in a Tesla full self-driving car mode, try that. I mean, and think of how fast that's happening.
Mm-hmm.
And then just think like, okay, well, now we can just put it in a robot. Right.
Wow.
I mean,
all right.
Yeah.
So we're definitely talking about Terminator stuff.
Yeah.
Skynet, robots.
Yeah.
oh yeah, I think we're
AI.
going to flying cars soon.
Wow. I'm telling you, George Jetson.
It's crazy. It's crazy. Well, Brandon, thanks so much for being on the show today. We have to, as much as we'd love to keep going, we got to kind of cut this off at this point. But if people want to get a hold of you and pick your brain, how can they do that?
Best way, just go to my personal website, Brandon, BRANDONC white.com.
Beautiful. Well, Brandon, thanks so much for being on the show. Appreciate your insight.
Jeff, and thank you both for having me. It's fun. We could probably talk about this for 3 hours.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, easily. Yeah. Easily.
Well, it's funny because we were supposed to record this about a month ago, and Jana had a quick emergency, and so Brandon and I jumped down, and I said, "Hey, I'm sorry, we're not going to be able to record it," and we talked for an hour.
Exactly.
I can see that.
And the funny part was, we got on this show, and we said, "What did we talk about for an hour?"
Yeah.
So it was great. But again, great conversation. Thanks, Brandon. To all the listeners out there, Jen and I always appreciate you. Please continue to send in the emails. I am hoping we get a ton of emails for Brandon, because this has been an amazing topic and there's so much to learn. So keep the emails coming. We appreciate it. Until the next time, folks, stay safe and be healthy.